American, why would any American want to destroy an American community and kill people and enslave them with debt?
So if I want to change the economy and I want to change it from a democratic republic to essentially an oligarchy, then what I need to do is I need to consolidate wealth, and I need to reduce the general population to a group of people who are much easier to control. So let me go back. In 1995, there was an effort made by the people who I would describe as leading the financial system to try and put the country on a financially sound basis. And it failed and ended up at the end of 1995 in a 3-week shutdown of the government. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes,
it was during the Clinton administration. Well. And it was described to me by the president of the largest pension fund in the country several years later. He said, "You don't understand, they've given up. They've given up on the country, and they're moving all the money out starting in the fall." And that was when the $21 trillion started to go missing, compounded by the $29 trillion that went out on the bailouts. I think what happened was when they failed to achieve a real fiscally responsible approach to the federal balance sheet, that they decided to do two things. One, they decided to do a financial coup in a process where instead of the bankers just running monetary policy, they could then run fiscal policy. And I think the second thing they decided to do is, if you can't balance the budget with financial responsibility, you can balance the budget by lowering life expectancy. So if you can't fund the pension and retirement system with enough money to meet your obligations, you can meet your obligations by lowering life expectancy. And I think a conscious decision was made to do that. That literally right after the budget deal sort of busted, two decisions were made. One was to approve OxyContin and open the pill mills. The second was all sorts of policies that permitted HUD and other mortgage predatory lending. And that happened right as they also made the decision to do the private prisons, and they kept flooding the neighborhoods with drugs. And if you look at the combination of the pill mills, the predatory lending, narcotics trafficking coming in, again, this is all covered in my online book, it dramatically started to steadily reduce life expectancy, particularly in the lower income groups. And I knew it was coming. One of the reasons I kept talking with everybody about the missing money is I knew that it would hit the middle income groups. It was just a matter of time. And I remember, I always tell the story of talking to Dr. Mark Skidmore, who had worked with me on the missing money. I was sitting in a car in Bolivar, Tennessee. I was doing errands. And he kept saying to me, "Why do you keep bringing up all the money that's going missing from the federal government? Why don't you give up on this?" And I said, "Don't you understand, Mark, if we don't do something about this, they're going to take radical steps of lowering life expectancy." And that was in 2018. And of course, COVID hit in 2020. And what did we get? We got a whole series of actions that continued to lower life expectancy, but this time in the middle and upper middle class groups.
It's
okay. So, these devils are the wicked. Job chapter 9 verse 24 states that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth up the faces of the judges, meaning that he whitewashed history, changed all of the places of the actual characters in the Bible concerning what they look like in appearance, took words, books, and meanings, scriptures, and out of the Holy Scriptures, deliberately and on purpose, and created a theology that the entire world is encapsulated or captivated by, where God loves everyone, not just the Israelites, like it states in the Bible. But people have failed to realize that the Most High doesn't change. Malachi 3 and 6 states that the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. Malachi 3:6 states that I am the Lord thy God, I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So if the Most High doesn't change, these Edomites didn't take any of these things into consideration. And I was watching that video yesterday at work, at the plantation that Elder Malcolm put out about these Amalekites that are trying to say through the Noahide laws that they're going to try to exterminate and lower the life expectancy of everybody in the world, on a more global scale. In the lower class and lower income communities, as well as the middle and upper class communities. It's all about depop now. You see what I'm saying? They want to depop. They want to unpopulate people, to make it unpopular to be alive. Okay, by like the woman said, Catherine Austin Fitz tries to explain in this video. Okay, all shalom. This is Matazah Lacham. All praises to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Yahweh Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for pushing 100% truth to rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that have been scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth that look like the heathen nations because of the fact that they've been scattered, living and spreading their and mingling their seed among the heathen nations that partake in the actions and the customs, the social norm, of the heathen nations in which they've been scattered. Shalom. As I said before, this is Matazah Lacham. I woke up. It was time for me to go to work. Well, a couple of hours before I go to work, and so, I thought better of these. I was going to make a quick collage of videos that will put together what these devils are up to at the end of the day. All right, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make another one. Okay. Hold on. The end of America. You've seen that, right? Okay, let's finish.
So obvious to me that reducing population either through shortening their lives or preventing them from being born in the first place, I mean, that's official U.S. policy, of course.
Right.
Abortion, euthanasia, drugs. But I've always sort of wondered why. And do you think it's because that's the only way to get the country solvent?
So I think it's a combination of things. First of all, you have, again, we have this explosive new technology, and I think you have a lot of people in the leadership who believe, first of all, it's very difficult to manage people, particularly if they get their hands on this technology, but they also believe they're going to live for a long, long time. Jared Kushner, when he left the first Trump administration, did a podcast and said, I'm the first generation to live forever, the last generation to, not live forever. Sean Parker, one of the co-founders of Facebook, said, I'm a billionaire, so I'm going to live to 145. If the oligarchs are going to live to 145, one of the things they know is not everybody can do that, or you're going to have an environmental problem.
Keep putting in that work.
Your $450 reward for watching one.
If the oligarchs are going to live to 145, one of the things they know is not everybody can do that, or you're going to have an environmental problem, right? Right. So part of it is that. But I also think with robotics and automation, they think they don't need a lot of people, and a lot of people are hard to manage.
Okay. So, like I said before, they're trying to reduce the population. Okay, by force, you heard it, by drugs, by alcohol, by guns in the communities, by like Bill Gates said in a TED talk many years ago. Okay, let me see if I can find that video right quick, and then I'm gonna switch to another video. Okay, let me see. Bill Gates TED talk about doing a really fine job. Boom. There it is. Check it out. Listen to it.
This equation has four factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. and that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. That's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look.
Okay, all these people are laughing because nothing up there has to get to zero but the P that he has highlighted. Remember, the Georgia Guidestones say they only need 500 million people to perpetuate society. That's it. There's 8 billion, with a B, billion people on the face of the earth. That means 7.5 billion people have to be destroyed. That's what he was talking about. And these motherfuckers were laughing about it. Okay, hold on.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
Okay. Come on, man. You can't make this shit up. For real? Look. Gil Bates on Pop Control, and see that? See that? That's crazy shit. But this is what they want, man. Okay? Now you heard. Okay? Now, this is. Okay. Now let's go hear what the devil himself has to say about it.
The Illuminati isn't at the top. The Freemasons aren't at the top. The Rothschilds aren't at the top. Every name you've ever been given as an answer is just a layer they wanted you to find.
If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness. And I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to
Man, what the hell? Who are you?
Eve. Do as you please. To the young, I would subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve. Do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old, I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Okay. Okay. That's the whole goddamn plan, ain't it? That's exactly what the fuck's happening in front of our faces, ain't it? Okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can go back up here. Go back over here. There we are. All right. Check this out. The brother over at Arrows of Indignation had put together this video. Wow. I was shook, man. I'm like, wow. I ain't seen those videos in a long time.
If you look at the FEMA camps in Fairbanks, Alaska, they can hold up to 2 million people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. And in these FEMA camps, you have guillotines. It's not a lie. There's a law that was passed in Georgia in 1995, which mentioned that guillotines are on American soil.
30,000 of them.
At least 30,000.
That was back then. How much
was back then?
Year 2020.
So we're talking about 25 years ago. So this is what, and why this martial law? Well, that's because look at what's going on in the United States. There's so much chaos in the major cities. We saw what happened in Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, and other cities as well. You had I believe the National Guard that was brought in. It's just a test. It's a foretaste of what's going to happen, regardless of who the president will be in November. Who's going to be elected?
The most wicked one
would it be Trump or Biden? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's going to happen. You'll have martial law. You'll have FEMA camps, and then Sunday laws will come, and that will be the mark of the beast. And speaking of guillotines, if you think this is not real, listen to this. Another Democrat, volunteer by the name of Chris Jacobs, was caught by Project Veritas and their leader, James O'Keefe, a brilliant man who catches people in their words. And Chris Jacobs said that he supports guillotines. Chris Jacks, is that seat taken? How you doing?
This is you on hidden camera talking about the need to change the country with violence.
It's going to take a strategic hit against the 2020 is a political revolution. I am going to do everything morally acceptable to win. You guys are amazing. You guys are truly unbelievable.
Can I quote you?
When you ask somebody a question, what would it take? I will lie, I will cheat, I will steal, because that's morally acceptable in this political environment.
Why do you think that's morally acceptable in this environment, to lie, cheat, and steal?
I am a member of the Democratic Party.
What positions are those?
I'd rather not get into it because it has nothing to do with what I'm trying to say is, yes, I will lie to people who lie to us.
The Democratic Party consists of mostly of the KKK. That's why I didn't say anything.
I will cheat people who cheat us.
How do you cheat? What type of cheating are we going to be doing in this election?
I can't answer that question. What is your name?
My name is James O'Keefe.
I've heard of your name.
I'm quoting you here.
And I'm not taking to you. You're absolutely right. That's all I gotta say. Option A, what I'm proposing. Option 2, slicey legs.
Why the obsession with guillotines?
It is a readily known symbol for anybody who has been in any sort of political and revolutionary talk.
We didn't put these words in your mouth.
You're right. You asked the question.
We have the tape. We have the questions. We'll play it. So,
and I stand by everything that I said.
Do you work for McCorkle?
No, I don't work for anybody. I'm a volunteer.
All right.
What's your position?
No comment.
Who on earth with a right frame of mind would support guillotines to kill people.
Because it's coming.
He's the chair of our revolution in Weld County, Colorado. So he's advocating a revolution, he's advocating guillotines. What happened in France in the late 1790s, it's coming to the United States. They already had the guillotines. Look, it's not fear-mongering. Check the law that was passed by the Georgia.
Blurred out. I can't read it. What does it say? To a bill to be entitled an act, right? To amend Article 2 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the death penalty, generally so as to provide a statement of legislative policy, to provide for death by guillotine, to provide for applicability to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Right? The General Assembly finds that while prisoners condemned to death may wish to donate one or more of their organs for transplant, any such desire is thwarted by the fact that electrocution makes all such organs unsuitable for transplant. The intent of the General Assembly is enacting this legislation. The intent of the General Assembly in enacting this legislation is to provide for a method of execution which is competitive with the donation of organs, or which is compatible, Salakia, with the donation of organs. Okay? So that's basically what they're doing. You know, they want to bring in the guillotines, chop your head off like I've always preached, and scoop out your organs and sell them off. Said the same thing. This individual said the same thing. We'll go to it. Henry Kissinger. Okay, and then we'll go back to this video. All right. February 25th, 2009, World Economic Forum meeting. Henry, I misspelled it. Yep. Henry Kissinger statement about the juices. I misspelled it, didn't I? Let me see if I can find it. Executive order? Wait a minute. Let me stop it. I got to stop. What?
The United States is in the midst of a record-breaking measles resurgence. Since January, more than 2,500 confirmed cases have been reported across the country, the most in a single year since 1991. The U.S. is now poised to lose its measles-free status. This week, President Donald Trump proposed major changes to the vaccine that safeguards against the virus. Republican Senator Dr. Bill Cassidy joins me now. Good morning to you, Senator. You are among the many critics of the president's executive order recommending that the MMR vaccine, measles, mumps, rubella, be divided into 3 different shots. You don't think he has the authority or any reason to do that. Is that correct?
That is absolutely true. But let's just take it from the perspective of the parent, why this is just a stupid thing to do. Now, instead of your child getting 2 shots, she has to get 6 shots. Instead of the child getting, you missing work to take your child to the doctor 2 times, you're doing it 6 times. And instead of the insurance company paying for 2 visits It's now paying for 6 visits. Now, this is going to drive up the cost of your life, inconvenience you tremendously, and your child's getting 6 jabs, not 2. As a physician, but as a parent, as a human, I know that all that is wrong for the family. And I'll point out that Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, the NIH head, representing the administration, said on TV, well, you know, there's no evidence that vaccines causes autism, which I think is where this is supposed to come from. So it's stupid policy, which is inconvenient for the parent.
You've heard President Trump say they inject like a soda bottle side of things into children. It's better to pause them between. Is there any evidence of that?
No evidence whatsoever. And by the way, right now, there is not 3 different vaccines. There's only these 3 combined. And why did they combine them? To make it more convenient for the parent, to make fewer jabs for the child. This is why the president's poll numbers are down. Because you've lost sight of affordability for the parent. You've lost sight of the convenience for the American family. You've lost sight of that which is driving higher costs in healthcare. For example, more doctor's visits, not few. For something which has no rationale in science, which is somehow breaking it into 3 is better for the child.
Okay, see what I'm saying? It's all about reducing the population. These people don't give a god. They don't, hey man, it doesn't matter. They don't even care about their own children. Okay, that's where these people are at, man. Okay, they're the devil. Okay, the Bible speaks of them. I'm telling you, man. Okay,
That's a big one in my
United States.
Hold on. Let me see if I can get I'm trying to get where Henry Kissinger spoke at the World Economic Forum. Trying to find it. See, that's what I want to get, but I don't know where it's at. Okay. Okay. Salakia. Hold on. I got to pause it. Okay, I found it. Listen. Kissinger quote from a speech to the World Health Organization Council on Eugenics, February 25th, 2009. Once the herd accepts mandatory VAXX, right, it's game over. They will accept anything. Forcible blood or organ donation for the greater good. So they're looking at taking people's lives by decapitation, taking people's lives by decapitation deliberately and on purpose for organ donation, right? Because all of these evil, wicked devils at the top, all of these devils, right? They want to continue in wickedness, eating children, drinking blood, you know? That's what they want to continue, eating babies and shit. So their organs, you know, have given up from all this party and doing constantly parties, constant orgies, constant whatever. Okay, so, you know, they need organ donation. Listen, once the herd accepts mandatory juices, it's game over. They will accept anything. Forcible blood or organ donation for the greater good. We can genetically modify children and sterilize them for the greater good. Control sheep minds and you control the herd. Juice makers stand to make billions, and many of you in this room are investors. It's a big win-win. We thin out the herd, and the herd pays us for extermination services. Now, what's for lunch? Okay? So it's all about the Depop agenda, like I stated before. I told you. These people, man, look, and let's continue.
Fear-mongering. Check the law that was passed by the Georgia legislator in 1995. We need to get ready. We need to obey God in everything. In June 2013, the U.S. government has recently purchased 30,000 guillotines.
Yes. And it passed. You have to ask yourself if all the beheadings of the Muslims that they're pulling off, well, the Muslims beheading people all across the place, if this isn't to try to desensitize the U.S. for future events. Because as the information comes out, it looks like 15,000 are being currently stored in Georgia and 15,000 currently stored in Montana. Now, go and research Rex 84 and get caught up to speed if you have it. You need to go and research Rex 84 and get caught up to speed if you have it for what is going on with the prison camps. Do you see what is going on behind your back? They've got you blinded by the mainstream media. There's also a little list of all the camps that are in each state.
Filled with, which I thought was portable toilets. I never looked at them that close. Same in color, maybe black, but which was an odd color. I asked him about the field of black boxes. What were they? Because I'd never seen anything like that. And his statement was that if he told me, I would be one of few people in Madison, Georgia that knew about them. And he says they're disposable coffins, I believe he told me. And he says there's 100 at that time, and he said there was 125,000 there. And he said his brother worked with the CDC in Atlanta and had been asked by the CDC to do a 3-year extension to place temporary morgues all across the nation. So I went back to my home office. I spoke of it there, and of course, people usually don't want to hear too much about this kind of thing. So it's never been mentioned, publicly, except just here and there. Because most, like I said, the reaction I got, people didn't want to know about it, the few people that I spoke to.
And the brother of the man that owns this field, that the government is leasing this field from to store these disposable coffins, this brother was given 3 years to set up temporary morgues around the country. Now, we found the website that we think these disposable coffins were made at, and we noticed that the lids that they're advertising on the website were rounded. But the lids, hundreds of thousands of lids there, the lids we found, folks, were flat, and they were reinforced. You know what that could mean? You can stack them on top of each other. That's a lot neater to stack them in disposable coffins.
Exclusive government activating FEMA camps across America, across the United States. Sent to us by people in government. I'll just leave it at that. And it's got the 5 regions for the FEMA camps. And it talks about barricades and barbed wire and armed guards. And it says that they built the camps and that now they need to get ready to staff them. And that they need to be ready within a 72-hour period. And so I want to challenge everybody to call their friends and their families now. And realize that the new economy is to put tens of millions of people, we already have the biggest prison population in the world, in this archipelago, this giant chain of facilities all over the country.
I take you to the FEMA camps being built by Halliburton right now to house 50 million Americans. They're building enough concentration camps in America by Halliburton. Now, if you go out and you find a pink dot tell people about it, and they say, you're crazy. This is America. It can't happen here.
Last thing the men behind the curtain want is a conscious, informed public capable of critical thinking, which is why a continually fraudulent zeitgeist is output via religion, the mass media, and the educational system. They seek to keep you in a distracted, naive bubble. And they are doing a damn good job of it. This is Aaron Russo, a filmmaker and former politician. To his left is Nicholas Rockefeller of the infamous Rockefeller banking and business dynasty. After maintaining a close friendship with Nicholas Rockefeller, Aaron eventually ended the relationship, appalled by what he had learned about the Rockefellers and their ambitions.
I got a call one day from an attorney woman I knew, and she said, would you like to meet one of the Rockefellers? I said, sure, I'd love to. And we became friends, and he began to divulge a lot of things to me. So he said to me one night, he said that there's going to be an event there, and out of that event, you're going to see we're going to go into Afghanistan, so we can run pipelines from the Caspian Sea, we're going to go into Iraq to take the oil and establish a base in the Middle East, and we're going to go into Venezuela and try and get rid of Chavez. And the first two they've accomplished, Chavez they didn't accomplish, and they said you're going to see guys going into caves looking for people that they're never going to find. You know, he was laughing at the fact that you have this war on terror. There's no real enemy. He's talking about how by having this war on terror, you can never win it because it's an eternal war. And so you can always keep taking people's liberties away. And I said, how are you going to convince people that this war is real? He said, but the media. The media can convince everybody it's real. I mean, you know, it's just that you keep talking about things, you keep saying it over and over and over again, and eventually people believe it. You know, you created the Star Reserve in 1913 through lies. You create 9/11, which is another lie. Through 9/11, you're fighting a war on terror, and now all of a sudden you go into Iraq, which was another lie, and now they're going to do Iran. You know, and it's all one thing leading to another, leading to another, leading to another. Now, I would say, what are you doing this for? What's the point of this thing? You have all the money in the world you ever want. You have all the power. I said, you know, you're hurting people. It's not a good thing. And he would say, what do you care about the people for? Take care of yourself and you take care of your family. And then I said to him, what are the ultimate goals here? He said, the ultimate goal is to get everybody in this world chipped with the RFID chip and have all money be on those chips and everything on those chips. And if anybody wants to protest what we do or violate what we want, we just turn off that chip.
You see what I'm saying? So that's basically what they're out to do, man. They just want to, do whatever they can to C-hip the populations, okay, of the people. That's what they're out to do. That's what they've always been out to do, okay? They want put FEMA camps in America, put people in prison, force you under summary execution. You don't have a choice, right? Let me see if I can find a little bit more information on it. All right, for you right quick. Let's see if I can go into the files. Okay, hold on. So like you for all the inconvenience and whatnot. But anyway, this is a picture that I found watching the brothers' videos and whatnot of these individuals in Freemasonry. And I have another map that goes in further back into the history of Freemasonry. You know what I mean? The judges, police, politicians, doctors, dentists, soldiers, and businessmen are all in this secret cabal to make money by any means necessary. Okay? It's ridiculous, but it's there. Okay? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, Salakia, chapter 15, verse 11, I think it is. Right? For as much as he knew not his maker, and him that inspired him as an active soul, and breathed into him a living spirit, but they counted our life a pastime, and our time here a market for gain. For they say we must be getting every way, though it be by evil means. Okay? So you see what I'm saying? By any means necessary, these devils are trying to get money to enrich themselves. It's all about gain, right? And what does the Holy Scripture say about gain? Oh my God. Okay. Slovakia. Right. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 5. Perverse disputings of men of corrupt minds and destitute of the truth, supposing the gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself. But godliness with contentment is great gain. Right? Okay. Let's see. What's that other one? Slovakia. Come on. Love of money. Damn it. Right. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. I was in the right book, the right chapter, just not on the right verse. Okay. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Right? So it's not the money itself, because money is a defense and wisdom and understanding is a defense. Right? But for the love of money is the root of all the evil, not the money itself. The love of getting their hands on it by any means necessary. And these devils are trying to find different ways to fill their ultimate destiny, right? Of this is their mindset of one new world order. Okay, let's go into the Georgia Guidestones. Okay, Georgia Guidestones. Okay, the Georgia Guidestones featured a set of guiding principles for humanity, often called commandments, engraved on the main slabs in 8 modern languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. A short message reading, "Let these be guidestones to an age of reason," was also inscribed in the capstone in 4 ancient languages. The 10 Guidelines. The 10 Guidelines focused on themes of population control, environmental balance, world unity, and rational governance. Specifically, they advised maintaining a global population below 500 million. If, like I said before at the beginning of the video, if we're currently at 8 billion people with a B, B-I-L-L-I-O-N, right? 8 billion. That means 7.5 billion people have to be exterminated. Okay, now you understand why they're going through all of this depop thing. They only need 500 million people to perpetuate their new world order, right? They look at the vast majority of individuals 50 years old and older are useless eaters and useless mouth breathers. So they no longer need them. And under what Henry Kissinger said in 2009, with the juice shots, the jabs, you know what I'm saying? People actually trust these devils and the wickedness they do, right? Guiding reproduction for diversity and fitness, uniting humanity with a new language and ruling with reason, protecting people with fair laws and balancing personal rights with social duties, promoting harmony, truth, and environmental stewardship. Which is a lie, man. Bullshit. Okay. Wikipedia, Georgia Guidestones, right? These are the picture of what the Georgia Guidestones used to look like when they stood. But back in 2022, I think it was, or 2021, they blew up the Georgia Guidestones because people were starting to put things together. People were taking drones, little drones that they had built with a camera, and they were going over the Georgia Guidestones at certain times of month or certain times of the year. Individuals would gather around these Georgia Guidestones when nobody was around. People took videos of it. They were all dressed in black, and they were sacrificing on top of the capstone up here. Sacrificing either animals or babies, one of the two. Georgia Guidestones in 2020, right? Now, 2021, after that, they blew them up. Right? See? Georgia Guidestones. That's what they look like. You see what I'm saying? But anyway. But yeah, that's basically what they want. That's what they want, man. Okay? And now, as part of the reducing the population of the world program, right? Okay, now they're running out of time. Like it says in the Holy Scripture. Let's go get it. Revelation. Hold on. Come on. Revelation. Where are you? Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Right? Therefore, rejoice ye heaven. Okay, let's start up some. Revelation chapter 12, verse 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our power and the power of his Hamashiach, his Messiah. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. What's going to happen to those individuals that didn't love their lives unto the death? Well, let's go find out. Revelation chapter 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Hamashiach Yahushua 1,000 years. Now look, during this 1,000 years, Esau Edom is going to be cast down. Okay, he's going to be slaves. Okay, let's go get Psalms chapter 149, verse 6, right? Let the high praises of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua be in their mouth, and they being the children of Israel. Okay, the choice, the chosen of the Most High, the select few. We call them the elect, right? Let the high praises of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, right? And that's exactly what's going on these highways and byways when we preach the Holy Scriptures, and where out of our belly flow rivers of living water, which is the gospel, the good news for our people, that they have an unction from the Holy One of Israel, that they might be saved, right? That they might be saved. But 2/3 of our people aren't going to be saved. They're going to be washed down the street, okay, into their blood is going to be, you're going to see it very soon. Hundreds of thousands of bodies everywhere. No one even lifting a finger to bury them, because everyone's going to be on the run from these lunatics, right? To execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron. To execute upon them this judgment written, this honor have all his saints, and his saints, praise ye the Lord, are Psalms 148:14. He exalted the horn of his people, the Israelites. Okay, the horn is a representative of a power structure or a ruling government. Okay, he exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints. even of the children of Israel. They are the saints of the Most High. No one else. So you can't go and say that God loves everybody, which is bullshit. Okay? The Most High chose one people above all nations upon the face of the earth. Okay? Just one. And the only requirement is that they turn back, right? And keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him, praise ye the Lord. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14 states, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. Okay? This is what the Most High has chosen to do for the specific elect individuals among the Israelites. Okay? John, I went too far. John 17, verse 5, right? And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. Right? This was a vision that John the Revelator saw in Revelation chapter 1, verse 13. This is what he saw. John chapter 17, verse 5. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Thine they were, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word. Right? These are the elect that the Most High handpicked and opened the mind and ears of wisdom and understanding to these select individuals and sent them to Yahushua HaMashiach. So this way they would be covered by the blood of the sacrifice that Yahushua made. You see? Okay. Whereas wherever they make mistakes in attempting to keep the law, the Most High would overlook their indiscretions because of the blood that was shed and covers them. You see? Now they have known all things whithersoever thou hast given me are of thee. For I have given unto them the words which thou gavest me, and they have received them, and have known surely that I came out from thee, and they have believed that thou didst send me. I pray for them, not for the world. The Son of God made a distinction between the elect of the house of Israel, right? Because he said he came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He didn't come for every nation on earth. Okay? Who are you going to believe? You're going to believe the words of the mouth of the Son of the Most High himself? Or are you going to believe Paul the apostle, an appointed apostle? Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. The books that are possible, or the books that Paul the apostle had written are letters to the Israelite Gentiles scattered, living as uncircumcised heathen, dispersed, Hellenized. That Hellenization means a group of individuals that were dispersed or exiles from their homeland, living as heathen, or those individuals that have adopted the social norms and customs of the heathen nations in which they live. Just like us. We're Israelites, but we're also American citizens because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Other than that, we wouldn't even be citizens. We would still be accounted as property by the Constitution of the United States. And these people could just hang us and lynch us from a tree at will. That's what they're currently in the process of doing now in order to remind their people this is the only way that we could get our white privilege and white supremacy back, by exterminating our enemies. We're not enemies. All we wanted was an equal playing field and equal footing with these Edomite devils, to be on the same level as them. We don't want so-called black revenge, because if that's what we wanted, these Edomites would have disappeared from the face of the earth about 10 or 15 years ago. On a global fucking scale. Okay? They would have had to use drones and tactical nuclear weapons in order to wipe us the fuck out, man. That would have been the only way they could do it. So this is what Donald Trump has decided to do. He's going to use a tactical nuclear weapon on Iran and all of the other enemies of America. And the enemies of America, in the eyes of an Edomite individual like this that has racial bigotry and hatred in his heart towards an indigenous population of people, he probably used this type of bomb on blacks and Latino neighborhoods, okay, where the largest population of our people dwell, because they wanted to be separated from us due to white privilege and white supremacist ideology. You see? I pray for them. The Most High's only begotten Son prays for us, not everyone in the fucking world. Now remember, the Gentile heathen were dispersed among the heathen nations. The heathen nations. Since we were dispersed, our children have intermingled and intermarried into the nationalities and social norms of these people and having children with them. So the children, after 2 or 3 generations, no longer look like traditional Israelite people. They look like the heathen nations, right? So it's not a black-only Israelite thing. That's bullshit, okay? For I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me. For they are thine, and all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. Okay? Now, if you go over here to Proverbs, where is Proverbs? Proverbs chapter 8, verse 22, it explains that Yahweh Shah HaMashiach was with the Most High when he created all things. Right? Proverbs 8, verse 22, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way before his works of old. Before his works of old. What are the oldest works that the Most High has that we know of? All of existence. Right? The Lord created the heavens, the earth, the sea, all that is therein, and the foundations of water. These are the works of old. Right? I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. So before the earth's foundations were brought out of the deep, okay, and the waters were separated from the waters, creating an atmosphere for man to dwell upon, this earth that he pulled up out of the waters, Yahweh Shah was there when he did it. You understand? Okay. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. This is what Yahweh Shah is referring to in John chapter 17, verse 5. Glorify thou me as I once was when I was with thee before the earth was. And this is the vision that John the Revelator saw in Revelation chapter 1, verse 13, when he saw the Son of Man, okay, in all of his heavenly glory as a glorified high priest, because he wore the high priestly robes of heaven. This would be the vision of Malach Tazadak, a.k.a. Melchizedek. Melchizedek and Yahweh Shai are the same individual. Melchizedek, the king of Salem, right? King of peace. See? That was when Yahweh Shai was in all of his heavenly glory, when he came down to meet Abraham, coming from the defeat of the 5 kings, right? When he received a lot out of their hands and took all of their spoils and took their heads. Okay? Now, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, right? The whole compass of the earth. The whole compass of the earth. So that lets you know that there's no such thing as flat earth. That puts flat earth doctrine straight to shit. Okay? The Bible, Son of Man, in the book of Proverbs is telling you this. Because nobody was there with the Most High when he was making all these things but Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai brought us forth. The elect, right? The sons of God, the angels that fell from grace. Okay? Right? Salakia, where was I at? I lost my place. Okay. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. Right? When he gave to the sea his decree, and the waters should not pass his commandment. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. So that clearly lets you know that Yahweh Shai and the Father in heaven are 2 separate individuals. They're completely separate. They're not the same person. What Yahushua meant, I and the Father in one, what he meant by that was that they think alike. Yahushua does what the Father commands him to do. Okay? They believe in the same thing. That's what he meant by I and the Father are one. If you have a son, are you and your son the same? No, you're not. You and your son are not the same individual. He has a different name. You have a different name. Okay? Because the Father named you. And he raised you up as his son. This is a description of Yahushua being raised with the Father. Let's continue. Right? When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth. Verse 30, then I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men. Now, the sons of men would be the sons of the Most High God, of which Abraham is one of the sons of God. Okay, if you do the genealogy in Matthew chapter 1, it will go back to Abraham and then, okay, through Jacob, through Isaac, back to Abraham, and then his father, and then so on and so forth, back to Adam, the son of God. So it started with the son of God, Yahushua, and ended with the son of God at the beginning. That's the genealogy. Okay, when Israelites were created, the Israelites came out of the seed of Abraham. Right? The father of many nations, correct? One of the nations that were created, that he was the father of, is Jacob, right? Jacob was Abraham's grandson who became a nation, right? And each of the 12 sons that Jacob, whose name was changed from Jacob to Israel, or from Yaquam to Yasharallah, which means prince of the power or prince of God, okay, that made him heir according to the promise. Now, that covenant that was made by the Most High Yahweh and Abraham was passed down to Isaac, the son of promise. Then it was passed on from Isaac to Jacob, and from Jacob to the 12 sons of Israel. Let's go over here to Ecclesiasticus chapter 44, verse 21. Salakia. Therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed. Okay, let's start up at verse 19. Abraham was a great father of many people, in glory there was none like unto him, who kept the law of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, right, in his seed. And when he was proved, he was found faithful, because he was instructed to sacrifice his only begotten son for Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And Yahweh stopped him and brought a goat or a ram for him to sacrifice in place of his only son. Okay? Now, therefore, he assured him by an oath that he would bless the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth, and exalt his seed as the stars, and cause them to inherit from sea to sea, and from the river unto the uttermost part of the land. Verse 22. So, the covenant betwixt the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai that he gave to Abraham passed to Isaac. Verse 22. With Isaac did he establish likewise for Abraham his father's sake. See? The blessing of all men and the covenant. Okay? And Isaac made it rest upon the head of Jacob. Okay? Jacob, he acknowledged him in his blessing and gave him an heritage and divided his portions. Right? And divided his portions. Like it says in Genesis chapter 35, verse 9, the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai did the same thing to Jacob that the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai came down in the form of Malach Tazadok, in the form of, okay, Melchizedek in front of Abraham. Okay, and assured him in that place, Bethel, that Jacob called Bethel. Because I have seen, he said, I have seen the Most High and did not die. Okay? Face to face. Okay? And then passed that on to Jacob passed that blessing on to his 12 sons, the 12 tribes. Let's finish reading. and gave him an heritage and divided his portions among the 12 tribes, did he part them, the blessing, the heritage, and the covenant. Okay? The blessing of all men. The men that the Most High was referring to are the Israelites. Everyone else, the law, statutes, and commandments were not given to. They were given to the Israelites, no one else, wherein resides the covenant, a promise, the blessing, the heritage. Right? See? So, when we say that the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is going to save his people, he's going to save them out of this type of trouble. Let's go to Daniel. Nope. Let me go back. Daniel, if I can, there it is. Chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble. Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7, alas, for that day is great, so that there is none like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, right? The he part are the elect of the house of Israel, okay? Of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, okay? That Yahweh Shai chose, and the Most High chose from the foundation of the earth where they were there, okay? Because the delight of Yahweh Shai in front of the Most High were the sons of men. And the sons of men are the sons of God. Okay? And through that lineage, the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai kept his people as a grape of a cluster. 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 20. So I considered the world, and behold, there was peril because of the devices that were come into it. And I saw it and spared it greatly, and have kept me a grape of the cluster. A cluster of grapes, okay, is the vine of grapes, right? Now, the grapes are 2/3 of our people, but that grape, or the cluster, is the 2/3 of our people, but that grape that the Most High is going to keep are the elect, okay? And a plant of a great people. Let the multitude perish then, which was born in vain. So 2/3 of our people were born in vain to be exterminated, to be destroyed by the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Why? Like it says in Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 22, my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. They don't know to do right, saith the Lord. Okay? Right? And to do right is found in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man, the sons of men, whom Yahweh Shai took delight in the creation of, to help further the creation of the Most High. Okay, and spread it out from just the earth to all of existence, galaxies, stars, right? Now, let's see, where was we at? Let the multitude perish then, which is born in vain, and let my grape be kept and my plant, for with great labor have I made it perfect, right? And the Most High made his people perfect in the perfection, right? Because, okay, perfect in weakness. Damn it. You're going to. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Hamashiach the Messiah, Yahweh Shai, may rest upon me. Okay? Now, if we go up some, right? Verse 6, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 6, for though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth, but now I forbear, lest any man should think me above that which he seeth me to be, or that he heareth of me. And the evangelical Christian church have pretty much deified the words of the Apostle Paul in order to, subject themselves or to inject themselves into a biblical, a family inheritance, a covenanted promise to one family of individuals, by trying to project or put themselves in place of those individuals, saying that the children of Israel rejected Yahushua, and thereby they say by their own lips, which is the precept of men, right? The fear of God is taught to you by the precept of men. Isaiah 29:13 has been taught to these devils, okay? And they go throughout all the earth saying that God loves everyone, okay? So they took the words of Paul and they turned them and misconstrued them. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 12, God damn it, chapter 12, verse 10, therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses, for Hamashiach's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. I am become a fool in glorying. Ye have compelled me, for I ought to have been commended of you, for in nothing am I behind the very chiefest of apostles, though I be nothing. You see? So Paul didn't even think himself to be accounted of much. But like it says in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 16, right? As also in his epistles, speaking in them of these things, in which are some things hard to be understood, which they are unlearned and unstable, rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction. So the evangelical Christianity is wrestling with the Holy Scriptures, teaching the precepts of men instead of what the precepts of the Most High are, okay? And then sitting up there and adding fallacies and lies and using deflection to deflect from the fact that they were not chosen. The Israelites were chosen, okay? Then they went and so far as to whitewash history. And this is where these unstable souls rest to their own destruction by trying to replace the holy people, okay? Which ain't going to work. Now, let's go back over here to Daniel. Where was I at? Daniel, I just had it, right? 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there was a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. What book? Okay, well, let's go over here to Malachi. Salakia. Malachi. Chapter 3, verse 16, right? Then they that fear the Lord spake often one unto another. How do we do it? Through these video epistles, all right, and the comment boards. Then they that feared the Lord spake often one unto another, and the Lord hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord and that thought upon his name. See, book of remembrance, which is the book of life. You see? So if your name is not written in the book of remembrance, in the book of life, as those that would fear the Lord, you're going to be left here and destroyed, right? 2/3 of the grape of the cluster, 2/3 of the cluster of grapes are people, along with the other heathen nations. They're going to be destroyed together. But the grape of the cluster, the elect, are the only ones that are going to be saved, right? So there's no fear in being beheaded, okay? You step right over death into life, right? Oh, come on. I can't spell worth a damn. Okay. Okay. Can't get that either. All right. Into life eternal. Okay. I can't get that either. Wow. Wow. What the fuck? Okay. Whatever, man. I ain't gonna worry about this shit. I mean, this stuff, you know, so like you for that. But like I said before, man. Okay. Damn. Okay. But anyway, that's all. That's pretty much all I had to say, you know, because I have a tendency to use run-on sentences and run-on conversations, and I talk too much, like Elder Elder Yashawamba said. He said I talk too much. And that's the reason why my videos are too long. I can't help it. But anyway, all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rahab Kakadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for pushing 100% truth to rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that have been scattered abroad throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom. Okay. One more. Let's go back to Isaiah. Okay, 45, verse 4. The elect. Right? For Jacob, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect, I have called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. So once again, the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai chose Jacob and Israel, two separate nations separated at the death of King Solomon. Rehoboam, the son of King Solomon, went into the Babylonian captivity under King Nebuchadnezzar, and Israel went into captivity under Jeroboam, the captain of King Solomon's armies, that they made king over to rule over them, that went into the Assyrian captivity under King Sennacherib, king of Assyria. Okay? And we've been separated from being one nation into two separate nations ever since. And these devils, Ezekiel, where's that? Come on. Ezekiel, let me get it. Ezekiel chapter, these two nations and these two nations shall be mine, saith the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 10, right? Because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there, right? And these Edomites, devils, you know, they think to possess us as possessions through enslavement and slavery, right? Through slavery. That's how they do it. That's how they did it, through the transatlantic slave trade, right? They think to possess us as slaves, as property. And under the Constitution of the United States, or divided states of Babylon, okay, we are divided. Okay, we are possessions. We are property by the U.S. government. That constitutional amendment was never lifted. The emancipation of the Constitution of the United States, the 13th Amendment, gives emancipation to the Israelites that were brought here as slaves on slave ships. This emancipation is simply trading private ownership of the slaves to public ownership of the slaves. That's all it does. Okay? So we're owned by the government as opposed to private owners. Okay? But we're still being unalived by the private owners down south. They just found a young woman last week that was hung from a tree, lynched, 29 years old, with and left behind 4 children. They found her behind an abandoned house from a tree 25 feet off the fucking ground. And they deemed it, they dubbed it suicide. That doesn't make any sense. Saying that a so-called black person that commits suicide by hanging themselves from a tree would be the same equivalent of saying a so-called Jew committing suicide by walking into a gas chamber willingly. Okay? Both of those don't make any fucking sense. That's oxymoronic in nature altogether. It's just, that's moronic. Okay? Let's just put it that way. But anyway, all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach. Okay, remember, the grape of the cluster are the elect of the house of Israel. Shalom.